upon you. Today, inshallah, we're gonna take the writing on page 28. We're gonna learn how to write short stories or stories from other cultures. And if you want to write a story from other cultures, we should focus on some features of the stories from other cultures. So we have to learn some features of stories from other cultures. What is the meaning of features? Features means aspects, simat, that you have to use in order to write a story from other culture. Now let's read these notes. When we read stories that are set in different parts of the world, we are reading about another culture. It says here that if we are reading stories that are brought from other parts of the world, from other countries of the world, except Jordan, غير الأردن, we are reading about another culture. We are reading about another culture. And culture here means اللي ثقافة. Some of the details in the story will be quite normal for the characters, but quite unusual for the readers. So, because we are writing another story from another culture, the details of the story will be familiar with the characters, the people in the story, and it would be unfamiliar for the readers, the students who are reading these stories, or people who are reading these stories. لأنه إحنا قاعدين نكتب قصة من ثقافة أخرى، فالديتيلز التفاصيل الموجودة في القصة حتكون مألوفة للشخصيات الموجودة في القصة، بس حتكون غير مألوفة للقارئ because it's from other culture. Here, stories are usually written in past tense and can be in the first or third person. Stories have three main features. It says here that when you want to write a story, you should use the past tense اللي هو الزمن الماضي, and can be in the first or third person. Also, we should use the first person pronoun or the third person pronoun. What is the first person pronoun? Like pronouns like I, we, us, and third person pronouns like he, she, it, they, him, her, his, etc. Hers. Stories have three main features. In order to write any kind of a story, we have three main characteristics or aspects in writing stories. The first feature is called the plots. And plots in Arabic means الحبكة. What happens in a story is called the plot. So all the events that happened in the story, we call these events plots. كل الأحداث اللي بتصير في القصة بنسميها البلot. البلot again means الحبكة. The extract from the White Giraffe is about Martin going into the game reserve. It begins with Martin leaving the house. What happened next? How does she get into the game reserve? What happens up to the moment she sees the White Giraffe? It says here that the extract, الاختصار of White Giraffe, قصة White Giraffe, is about Martin going to the game reserve. بتروح على الجيم reserve. It begins with Martin leaving the house. بتبلش لما مارتن تترك المنزل. شو اللي صار بعد هيك? What happened after this? It's called the plot. شو صار بعد هيك? It's called the plot. What happens from she get into the game reserve until she saw the White Giraffe? It's called the plot. شو صار بعد ما دخلت جوا الجيم ريزيرف ولحديت ما شافت الوايت جيراف بنسميها plot. Again, plot means حبكة, and the plot means the events of the story, أحداث القصة. Okay. The second feature is called the setting. The setting is where the story takes place. So the place of the story is called setting. تمام? The writer used descriptions so the reader can imagine where the character is. A writer, in order to describe the setting or the place, he used descriptions, awsaf. He describes the place in order to enrich students' minds or people's minds or readers' minds and imagine the place of the story. Okay, like here, Martin set off blindly through the dripping trees. Blue lightning shuddered over the mountains. Here it says that it describes the place, the game park reserve. Okay, Martin set off blindly through the dripping trees. From this description, the reader can imagine the place that Martin went through. It's black, for example. It's pitch black, and we have dripping trees, wet trees. So it's a wet place. Here also, blue lightning shuddered over the mountains. We can imagine the place here that we have blue lights that spread over the mountains, منتشر حوالين الجبال. So these descriptions enrich students' minds with a lot of imagination, الخيال الواسع. Okay. Here, discuss the setting of the story. What picture in your mind of, like the weather? When you read the story, what is the picture in your mind? How do you visualize the weather when you read the story? I think that the weather here is maybe cold, witty, يعني مبلل, cold, it's wet, cold, misty, كله ضباب, for example. The game reserve, maybe it's a black, ambiguous, غامضة بالنسبة لنا. So now let's go to the second feature, which is called the character. This is the third feature. It's called the character. Character means the people in the story. People in the story. يعني Tendai, Martin are characters in the story. It's important that a reader feels that the characters are real. The characters are real. They must be more than just a name. We learn about Martin through what she does or her actions. So for the readers, for the students, when the writer writes the story, the characters should be real for the students. لازم تكون حقيقية. One of my students asked me, he told me that the white giraffe itself, it's a real animal, okay, but it's a rare حيوان حقيقي, لكنه يعني كتير rare, يعني نادر. But he asked me whether Martin is a real character or not. I told him no, it's not a real character, but we have يعني a lot of characters like Martin in real life. عندنا إنه حكيت له إنه مارتن مش شخصية حقيقية, ولكن في عندنا شخصيات حقيقية تشبه مارتن. Because we have people who owns wildlife reserve. We have trackers of animals. So their job, the characters of, for example, Tendai's job is a real job for real people in real life, okay? Also Tendai, she is a girl, she is like other girls in real life. She is living in who are, for example, living in a wildlife reserve with their grandmother. So when we know a lot of the characters, we feel that these characters are real characters. لما نعرف أشياء كثير عن characters نحس إنه هاي characters زي كأنها شخصيات حقيقية. Like what? We know that Martin was orphaned. She is living with her grandmother, and she has no father and mother. Okay, and we also learn from her actions that she is a brave girl, maybe calm girl, curious girl, determined girl, إنسان مصر يعني في الحياة. Also brave, foolish. Okay, from the actions that this character made, or we can feel that this character is a real character. Okay, is this short extract from the story? What impression do you get from Martin? إيش الانطباع اللي بتاخدوه عن Martin? Do you think she is brave, foolish, حمقاء, nervous, متوترة, calm, هادئة, curious, فضولية, determined, إنسان مصر في الحياة, frightened, جبانة يعني خوافة? Find evidence in the extract of what she does to support your view. طلعوا من الاكستراكت اللي هو القصة المختصرة اللي احنا قرأناها evidence أدلة بتدعم هاي الشخصية, شخصية مارتن, زي كانت calm ولا nervous ولا foolish. Okay? For me, she is determined, إنسان مصر, because she decided to go into the reserve to find the giraffe. And it says here, whatever happened now, there was no turning back. And also, she is a foolish girl for me, because she risked her life for this adventure. Also, she is a brave girl, because she handled her situation in a professional way, بطريقة هيك يعني professional, when she stayed calm and she stifled her cry of terror, or she quelled the butterflies in her stomach. So I think that she is a brave girl, foolish at the same time, and curious. Here, the last thing, it's called detail. Detail in a story, detail هو التفصيل. In stories from other cultures, an important feature is the detail. So detail هو كمان features of writing other stories about other cultures that many readers will find unfamiliar. الديتيلز اللي هي التفاصيل الموجودة في القصة اللي القراء يمكن يشوفوها unfamiliar for them. It could be familiar for the characters but unfamiliar for the readers. The setting اللي هي mangoes and gardenia blossoms. في عنا details للsetting. And the animals, the water buck, the cobra, the mamba. For me, the mamba was unfamiliar for me. I didn't know there was a snake that's called mamba. Okay? And we don't have water buck in Jordan, for example. ما عندناش الضبي في الأردن. Or maybe we have, I don't know. So in order to write a story from other cultures, again, we should focus on these features. The first feature, again, is the plot. And plot means the events that happen in the story. The second feature is the setting, where the story happened, the place of the story. We have in the story we have maybe different places. We have the reserve itself, Africa itself. We have specific places like the tree gum, the gum tree. Okay, the gum tree. Also, we have characters like Martin, Tendai. Okay, and we see that the characters as readers, we should feel that the characters are real characters. So we have to write details about these characters, information about these characters, in order to get know them very closely. And we have the detail, and we said that the details for the characters should be familiar, and for the readers should not be familiar. It should be unfamiliar for the readers. And we should write a lot of details in order to make the story يعني as if it's a real story. Okay? Believable. لازم يعني نكتب كتير details للsettings, للانيمالز، معلومات جديدة بالنسبة لنا. It should be new information for the readers. The story should include new information for the readers. معلومات جديدة للقارئ ما بعرفها. In order to know the other culture. حتى يعرف الثقافة الأخرى. Okay, that's it for today. Inshallah, next time we're gonna continue.